What's up? Hello, everybody. It's that time again. It's Sunday night, and we're live. So that makes it the Sunday Night Live, as it says across top of the screen there.
We need
So
to do
hello,
like
hello,
like
hello.
we need to do like Sunrise Wednesday live.
No, we don't do sunrise. Nothing around here. If I'm up at sunrise, something bad done happened.
Hey, 2 more weeks. It's sunrise is going to be an hour later.
Yeah, but it's still. I'm good. I am good, sir. So yeah. So how's things going over at your place? I see you got the big 2 foot by 2 foot closed loop stepper, same smart beast of a CNC over there.
Yeah. I
It
got
makes
that.
it makes the router look little.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. So I got that assembled after uh, getting getting through the enclosure for the Adamstack Glacier. So this it's 4 by 4 foot deep, 5 foot wide table. It's supposed to be like my assembly table. You put projects together on it. You leave. It's kind of the all-purpose table in the workshop, right?
Yeah.
In these last two things, they just dominate it. So like just enough room for the laptop, and then behind it is the controller. So yeah, it's a pretty good sized machine. It's got about a little over 26-inch square working area, closed loop steppers and such. Pretty beefy. I haven't checked the specs on the ball screws, but they're bigger than my Onefinity. So yeah, got that together and got one quick carve done on it with the 60-degree V-bit from Cadence Manufacturing, that Jenny. So it does work. I got it hooked up with G-Sender. Liking that the router goes through the controller, so it can control that on and off without using the relay. Now, the caveat to that is that I can't control I'd have to add another inline adapter to control the dust collection as well. But it's nice that it.
Yeah, you
nice
could, but you'd have to.
Yeah. So yeah, going to be running that a little bit. I do need to figure out, because they have like basically this T-track slots for the spoil board. It's not my primary method for hold down. I like having them more of like the threaded inserts and such. Gives me a little more flexibility. But it has like 5 3/4 or 5 1/4. It's got a lot of depth there between the spoil board and the bottom of the Z gantry thing. I could put a sacrificial board on there, which would actually work better for like surfacing it as well, because these slats are bigger than the working area. So if you go to surface it, it's going to actually pocket it in. And
yeah, that was the one of the things that I had with the 4030 that I just did, was like, if you tried to surface it, you're going to have a lip on the back edge because you can't reach it. So I had actually thought about taking the slats out and surfacing it and just chopping the darn things to make them shorter. But then I'm like, well, but there are times that you might want to use that. So yeah, you could do a number of different things. You could even put you a couple or 4 or 5 threaded inserts in there and then create a spoil board that would bolt down, with some recessed bolt. Yeah. That way you could take it on and off if you wanted to.
Yeah. So I got right now I'm just using some basic clamps or some double-sided tape. Actually, that I almost didn't get this one back off because it was MDF to MDF on with light duty double-sided tape. So it was well stuck down for that carve. But gonna figure out a couple projects with it. I have a few in mind, some things that Carla would like for in the house. I need I think I might design a new push stick for the table saw and see about cutting those out on the CNC, and some of the typical projects, but mix in a few others that might be useful stuff to share. So yeah, working on that. Of course, I also dropped the enclosure video, but then had someone reach out to me about they're from I know them from the RC hobby with model airplanes, and he was building a new airplane and asked about some servo trays, some laser cut servo trays. So he gave me his specs, and I figured everybody always asks about design software. And by no means am I telling people you should go and start using SketchUp, but it's what I have used forever, and so it's hard to give it up. And so I thought, well, I'll just show kind of the design process through SketchUp, how I get it into the laser, and a few tips there. So I even talked about, you know, maximizing the cut when doing multiples, and then a little teaser on even doing a little bit of packaging with some heat sealing bags and such. So if you haven't seen that, you know, check it out. Leave a comment out there, help that video out as well. And the funny thing is I have like a dozen of these now. They're the leftover cutouts from the inside of what I was cutting, and I'm like, they almost look like little
like trophy tags or something.
Yeah, like if they were brass, they'd be trophy tags or something. And it's this kind of stuff that you're like, yeah, someone could be useful or something, but it's just
yeah.
You start hoarding all those pieces, and it gets a little crazy. So
yeah, you have to start like I do every now and then. I'll have to do a purge. I'll have to go through here and go, okay, I've got to separate myself from about 50% of the scrap. And so what I typically do is I take it out on the front porch over here on my sawhorses. I take pictures of it and I send it to Billy and I send it to Klein. I'm like, hey, do y'all want this? If not, it's going in the burn barrel.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, they'll come get it. And there a few times I've actually had so much leftover stuff that I actually put it on Marketplace and was like, hey, free to a good home, come get it.
Sure.
Because I hate, you know, you hate to burn materials, but like the scraps from the stove covers, I have so much of that stuff. Like I use it to make shelves for holding wood because they're typically like 1.5 inches by 3/4 inch strips. So they're good to make like little shelves to hold material and stuff because they don't keep the dust and so forth. But it's just at some point, it's like there's too much. It's got to go.
So Mark is commenting, would a larger diameter surfacing bit reach the ends? Unfortunately, no, because the rails go all the way to the back of the bed. And so the gantry has to go to the back and the router sits in front of it. So you got there's actually a good 10 inches on the back side that's impossible to reach with. I mean, you'd have to have like a weed trimmer head on that thing.
You'd have to have like a 16 inch bit on there.
Yeah. So it goes too far back that way. And then even up in the corners, it goes really close to this rail that I don't think it's a good
spindle would hit.
I think it's a good 2 to 3 inches out from the center of the spindles. It's a ways, and you'd also risk running in the rails. So yeah, it covers all of it, but surfacing it, I think putting a top layer, creating a file that it's a 3/4 inch thick MDF that goes into it is probably going to be my best bet. And I can use the CNC to mill out the threaded insert holes, put those in, and then just cut it to size and bolt it down or so. But so yeah, I'll be playing with that more this week, and yeah, I did that video on the the SketchUp thing, and I used the alien cell laser, which that was one thing too on these cutouts. Using the slats, now I haven't sanded this at all, but they are very clean. So that air assist and the air extraction, as long as you have clean rails, you know, as the more you use it, more gunked up, the more staining. But
yeah.
It did a really good job cutting, and it came out clean. And then the white space jumping between, I mean, it is fast. I put about a minute of the cutting video in there, and none of it sped up. And when it's doing some of the small holes, it's just bouncing from one to the next to the next. And
yeah, the white space movement on it's crazy.
So yeah, it's, you know, so this laser is just, so it's got the 24 by 18. It's 3 inches narrower than my original 60 watt CO2 and just a fraction of an inch deeper. And the performance of a 40 watt diode compared to a 60 watt CO2 from 10 years ago, I would put them really close to on par. Now, you're not going to do the clear acrylics and things like that with this, but had I had this machine back when I was doing all my other work with that one, I could have done probably 90% of the work with this one as I could that CO2. So it's an interesting comparison. I'm going to try to do more with seeing how like the scanning speed and engraving speed. See, I don't like to do like straight up head to head. This laser is better than that one, but I would love to take a file on, say, my X-Tool S1 40-watt, set up the same speeds for a file. So we wouldn't necessarily be going for the same looking burn, but just kind of seeing they should be pretty close enough anyway to have a similar.
What difference does the travel speeds and the white space scan? What difference does that make?
And it's really the acceleration, getting it up to that speed faster, is the big thing. I had a friend over today. He picked up the Acmer P3 to do some testing on some EVA foam, because he's got this like 120 watt Trotec that's like 40 inches by 36 inch working area or something. He's like, the problem is it fires at like 16 to 17%. And that was almost too much power for the foam he was working with. And so he's having a real struggle getting it dialed in for doing this job. And he might be having to make hundreds, if not thousands, of these things for this company that he's working with. So he's like, can you help me out? And I said, yeah, let's try it out on a dial. You can take it home, see if it works. And then from there, if you need it to be faster, I can make some recommendations. But it was interesting jumping from the Alien Cell speed to that Acmer, which is Core XY and fairly fast. It's
not a slouch itself.
It's not a slouch, but I was like, okay, I can feel the difference. And in an engraving there, I did it about the same size engraving in foam, just my logo. It was 7 minutes on this one and 9 on the other. So there was definitely a difference. And technically, I had this one set at 600 millimeters a second. That one set at 800 millimeters a second. So that might be an interesting one to do some comparison on.
Yeah. Duck Wood Designs is asking, which Onefinity do you have?
Oh, he's not asking you?
I don't have a Onefinity. You can plainly see that is not a Onefinity sitting there. And, hey, look at the bright side. You can actually see my CNC tonight because I don't got nothing sitting on it.
I got plywood sitting on mine, but I have it was originally the 32-inch woodworker, but then they're good at offering like the upgrade paths. So when they came out with the Journeyman, they offered you could replace the top bar for that. So I did that upgrade. So it's the Journeyman. So it's 49 wide and 32 deep as far as its cutting area. There's slight differences between that and then what was actually the Journeyman, but it's the original Buildbotics controller and everything. So I've had this for about 7 or 8 months after they originally came out. So back in it's 5 years now. It's going on somewhere around there because they came out in late 2019, early 2020 is when they started shipping them, and I got mine I think towards the end of that year.
There you go. News fan said, am I understanding correctly that Millmage will not have a B-bit carving in the core license and the Pro will have it at a later date? And my answer is I have no idea. I haven't been following Millmage. I saw it. I saw the software. Got to see them actually doing some stuff with it over at Workbench Con last time we went. But my thing is just like there's some other CNC softwares out there that are good softwares, but I'm so comfortable using Vectric that I can't. You know what I mean? I can't go back to learning another software, especially a software that, in my opinion, is not ready yet. So that's where I'm at on it. Not saying that it's not a good alternative for people that don't know how to run CNC software and that don't have the budget for, more expensive softwares. But me in my situation, I don't have the time to fool with it. And if I'm setting up a design and trying to do a file right now, I'm going to use the software that I can do it the fastest with, because that's, I don't want to spend all day trying to set up a job. And currently the tools aren't there. The software's, from what I'm seeing, is not ready yet. So I'm sticking with VCarve. Nothing against it. I love Lightburn. I'll probably always use Lightburn as long as lasers accept it. But their CNC software so far is it would be a hard transition even for me, somebody that has learned how to use VCarve. The stuff that I see and the terminology that they use in the software, it would be tough for me to like get motivated to want to learn that software, in my opinion, because there's just not a lot of reward for me learning it at this point. It's like it can't do what VCarve can currently, or even especially Aspire. I mean, because I'm running Aspire now, and it's going to be a long time before Lightburn software, the Mill Mage, can do what Aspire does. So
as far as I understand it, yeah, the Pro version is where they're going to be adding some features like V carving and relief carving. It's technically launching, I believe, in 2 days. The nice thing is the price, $100 for Core, $200 for Pro. And if they're doing it like they do Lightburn, it'll be, you get this version, and if you want to upgrade, you'll have to pay the support stuff. But definitely cheaper software for perpetual license. But yeah, I haven't looked at the recent release candidates. At some point, I probably will after it launches to see, what it looks like, because I know they've been doing some improvements. But much like I use SketchUp for my design work, I've been using various versions of VCarve going back. I mean, they're on, I think I've 6 something was my first version, and now they're on 12. So I'm not saying I'm a pro at it, but it's kind of one of those things. I've used it for a while. It's hard to change, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it and try to do some comparison, because at that price, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be easier for people to jump into without the added hundreds of dollars it costs for some of the others just for a year.
Yeah, like I said, my situation right now is once they get the bugs worked out of it, like I said, I wouldn't mind sitting down and messing with it, but I don't have the time to devote to it currently for something that I'm not planning on using right now. So,
Mark's asking a related question: have either of you considered adding a vacuum table hold down setup to one of your CNCs? Actually, my first 2 had them. It was kind of a homegrown thing. And so it was, the base of it was built up actually from that dense 1-inch insulation foam. And then the vacuum channels were carved out in that. And then I topped it off with a ceiling tile grid, actually, because you can draw air through that, which worked okay. It wasn't quite as strong as some of the newer, foam and rubber gasketed ones. It has its benefits, but you also have to be careful on your cut through paths. And after a while, you can start losing holding if you're doing a lot of through cutting with it, because you're opening up air passageways. So when I'm doing engravings and things like that, that's great, because you hold it down and you don't worry about it. But a lot of stuff I was doing at that time was doing profile cuts on plywood for various stands and RC parts and such.
Yeah, it looks cool, but here's my thing. I do a lot of working with thicker materials, especially like with the 3D stuff that I do. I'll use, material sometimes that's 2.5, 3 inches thick. And if I add something to the bed of my machine, you're basically taking away your how thick your material can be. So if I add, let's say, some type of vacuum table, and the overall thickness is, let's say we get a really thin one that's 1/2 inch thick. Well, I've just decreased the material that I can use by 1/2 inch. And like Steve said, the jobs that I do and the things that I do, I don't see where it's going to benefit me that much. And it would be my luck that, like you said, every time you cut through there, you're allowing air to get in. Especially if you don't put if you are cutting out like squares and you put your square to where you're not cutting inside the vacuum hold area, then yeah, it's going to hold great. But a lot of the stuff that I do, it just to me, investment versus return. I mean, it don't take me that long to strap some material down, screw it down, clamp it down, whatever. And I've never really seen the benefit with this machine. If I had a different one, if I was running the machine for 8-10 hours a day and I was just having to throw my plywood up there and hit go and then pull parts off, throw another sheet of plywood up there and hit go, yeah, it would probably be something that would be worth spending the money on. But the way that my jobs is, I'd have to set the vacuum table up for each job because each one of them's different size, different shape, different everything. And then now I've got another piece of equipment that's got to be plugged up over there to run in the form of an air compressor. And now it's louder because I got an air compressor running. And so it's just, like I said, to me, the benefit's just not there. Like a tool changer. Somebody was telling me the other day, man, you need to get a tool changer. The tool changers almost cost as much as my CNC did. Typically most of my jobs, I may have to change bits twice, like 3 bits. Normally 3 bits or less is what I'm running on most stuff that I do. If it's a 3D job, I may do like a roughing bit, a finish bit, and then maybe like a round over bit. But typically 3 bits is about all I use. If I use 4 bits, it's kind of an exception to the rule. So I don't know. Those things are just the expense to me doing what I do. It just doesn't justify it. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but
well, like anything, they have their place, and it doesn't work into everybody's workflow or budget. But but yeah, if you're dealing with repetition of cuts and you just have a couple of blocks to zero things off and just hit that vacuum on it, holds it down, it can definitely speed things up. Same thing as a tool changer. If you're doing multiple things, you just want to be able to drop the material on, let the thing go and be done, swap things out. There's definitely case uses for it and such, but not necessarily for everyone, especially in a more of a hobbyist or home business kind of shop. It just kind of depends on what your products that you're making are. Duck Wood Design was asking, are you running Alien Space or Lightburn with it? So far, I've just been using Alien Space. I imported some designs into it from other software, so I didn't necessarily design in that. I haven't played around with setting up Lightburn with it yet. From what I understand, they still don't quite have the cameras because they have that dual camera setup. So that the cameras work pretty well on it, coupled with their framing function in Alien Space. So, but I do plan on giving it a shot, trying it out. So,
yeah, I've been waiting on the Lightburn. I think they're still tweaking Lightburn a little bit, but I've been running their software and it does a pretty good job. I'll be honest with you. And the reason is I like the little monitoring camera. Because like if I'm over here working on something else, I'll pull that monitoring camera up and put it on my top screen. And instead of, I can see it because it's like right over there. But when it's on that top screen, I can actually see what's going on inside the enclosure. And you can kind of tell even like if your settings are correct, because it's surprising how much detail that little camera picks up.
It's also, unless I'm missing it elsewhere, going into that live view is the only way to get the real job runtime, because the front screen doesn't display completed time. It just shows the percentage and its estimated time throughout the job, and then when it's done, it says I'm done. Even in the software, unless you go into that live view, which does give a real time, like it'll say the estimated, but then it'll give you the end of job timing, which is kind of nice when you're looking at what you're if you need to bill back for certain hours or trying to figure out how long something's going to take. Getting an accurate that we all know the estimates in even Lightburn and others are not always correct. So,
yeah. Santa saying Lightburn discovered that the default text size was set in edit settings at 0.9843 inches. From install, I put 50% in width and the text stayed the same. Not half what needs to be set. If it's text and you're trying to decrease it, you're probably going to have to convert it to a path instead of leaving it as text, because I don't know that the percentage decrease, I think that's only a vector tool. I don't think that affects text. So
yeah, I would use the have it. They keep coming out with updates that I haven't installed.
yeah, well, I've got all the updates, but like,
No, I just was opening Lightburn and it's like giving me the report.
I don't know. I see. I don't, and I see people using these percentages and all this kind of stuff. I use the size. Like, I don't care what point a text is, because I'm not designing the rest of my stuff by points. I design the rest of my stuff by millimeters. So I go more with the height and width than I do the point. Like I'll scale it up and down, shrink it, whatever, lock the aspect ratio to maintain the integrity of the actual font. But I could really care less whether it's a 25 or 47 or whatever. Because when I'm designing, that's, a lot of times too, I'm going to convert it to a path anyway, because I'm going to do some weird node editing with it to put a line across the bottom or something like that a lot of times. But
yeah, I'm not able to replicate.
Yeah, mine's actually, if I use the scale, it's scaling it. So I don't know. Like I said, my advice is don't go down the rabbit hole of getting into all that. Just figure out, do you need it 10 millimeters tall? If you do, set the box size to 10 millimeters high, and boom, you're done. I mean, I don't know. You can chase rabbits and like spend long time doing something, but
Yeah, I mean the width, the height, and also the percentages, they seem to be functioning fine for me. So I'm not able to replicate that problem.
Yeah, they're fixed for me. But I mean, like I said, typically I don't worry about that as much as I do the height and width. I'm going for more of a visual appearance than I am a mathematical equation. So if it looks good, send it.
Too many tabs open, things popping up. All right. Three Sun Signs is asking, has anyone cut or engraved leather with the Alien Cell 40 watt? I have not played with leather yet on that one.
I think I did a little bit of testing. I don't remember. I'd have to look at all my little cards over there, but I want to say I did. I don't know about leather. I may have. I don't recall. I had to dig out my box of test materials and see. But my advice to you, though, leather depends from cow to cow, and from manufacturer to manufacturer, and from how they tanned it to how they tanned it. So the only true way is to just test it. Most of the time, though, the software, the settings, if you can find a 40-watt laser in the settings for leather, you'll get results. It might not be the best results, but you'll get results good enough if you just got to guess at it. But I prefer to test like everything. Even if I have settings, I'll run a test.
It looks like they only have the synthetic leather in their software. I saw another creator say that was one of their complaints, is they didn't have presets, and I was like, well, but they do. I will say their software isn't always necessarily hyper intuitive in a few areas, but
yeah, there's still some polishing needs to be done to it, but it's
a really good start. It's just
it's better than a lot of the other softwares were when they first came out. So
yeah, I haven't been as frustrated using it as others.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. Try to.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll through the comments, make sure we stay caught up.
Hello, Ryan. Good to see you here.
Yeah, I was trying to catch up on Ryan M's show a while ago before the live because I didn't get to last night. We had a bit of an issue. My brand new $12,000 HVAC system decided that the blower motor needed to just like take a break. So we have air conditioning and the heat, but we have a working heat pump. But the problem is the blower that blows the air from the said heat pump through the rest of the house. That blower's not working. And it's supposed to be 20 something degrees here tonight. So I had to engineer some stuff. I got little box fans sitting all over the house in there, trying to, because we got the gas logs. So I got the gas fireplace fired up, but I had to engineer some fans to kind of push some of the air from the living room to the rest of the house. So there's one of my engineering projects. That's my fan out of my event trailer that I use when I go to events. And I use some cardboard and some painter's tape to kind of cap off the air inlet. And I got that fan blowing in there so that it forces air out the vents in the house. And believe it or not, it's actually working. Like it's staying about 71 throughout the house. So hopefully it keeps everything to where we can be semi-comfortable until, was it Monday or Tuesday? I think they're going to come fix the AC, but there was no way to fix it this weekend. Like my brother-in-law is actually my AC guy. And so he came out last night and came and looked at it, went up in the attic, tested everything, but we just can't get the parts. That's the whole problem, is the parts place doesn't open until Monday. So, but yeah, that was, that's a bit unfortunate, but hopefully it won't get too cold tonight.
Your house holding some residual heat.
Yeah, it stays pretty warm. And like I said, I've got enough air circulating now that it's working. And I got my little space heater that I bought out here that I can take in the house for. Brady was a little concerned that it might be cold in the bathroom in the morning when she gets ready to go to work. So I'm probably going to take that in the house tonight. So I'm probably going to take this in the house tonight just in case, so she can plug it up and use it if she needs to.
Yeah.
But yeah. But we got a really good hot water heater. And I told her, I just turn the hot water on, let it run for a few minutes. It'll warm it right up in there.
Yeah. Get a little hot and steamy in there and you won't notice until you walk into the next room.
Yeah, until you come out.
What are they? REM Firearms is asking, do either of you have any experience with one laser XRF? Unfortunately, we don't.
Closest thing is the Thunderbolt. Closest thing I've got to it. Seems like a good machine, though.
SJ Laser says Hobo with wood covered in his recent video fixed to the new release candidate. That might be the text thing, because I did see he dropped some video about resizing text. So since I'm not on the latest version, maybe that was why it wasn't messed up for me. It could have been something messed up in a intermediary. I'm on 2.0.03. So
I'm an 05. So
okay.
I don't know. That is, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's something I can honestly tell you, of all the files I've ever created, I can't tell you what the size, the height of the font, as they call it. It's always proportionate to what I'm designing. So I really don't go by that. I just go by the overall size. So
it says it's only if text is grouped with other items you scale it, but Lightburn still shows same height. Okay. So it's some conditional weirdness.
Yeah.
But thanks for sharing that, SJ Laser. EMT Dave's asking, just starting to do some 4-inch mirror tiles, photo and artwork. Any tips for P2S?
Buy extra. I mean, you're gonna mess them up. It's mirrors are fun, tiles are fun, but there will be lessons to be learned.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not necessarily for, like, if you're doing vector artwork and such, maybe defocusing a little bit and definitely elevate it off your surface. I usually use a couple of like plywood rails on the edges wherever it's not necessarily going to be engraved, hopefully, and then keep that nice gap so it's not resting on anything, because you can definitely get flashback that'll mess up with the surface of that side or give you some ghosting on your image. So and then usually anytime I'm working with glass, I'll try to defocus a little bit. But if you're doing, depends on if you're doing photo stuff and you're trying to just blast away the mirror material to make it work, that's going to take a little trial and error as to whether you need a more sharp in focus or a defocus still works. So it's a couple of tips I can give you.
Yeah, you definitely want some like gap between your engraving mirror that you're engraving and the surface. I would say at least a half inch is what I try to go with. That's overkill. I think, a quarter of an inch would probably be plenty, but I try to get it on up there a little bit. And you can even make you like a little jig or stand to hold it up out off the work area. That works good too. That way you set it in there and that jig just barely holds the edge of the mirror up off the material.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that just by taking some layers of plywood and making you a little jig. Like I said, cut you a box big enough for it to sit in, and then do like an inset, a couple of millimeters, just enough to grab that edge and create yourself a little tray for it. So
Jared Lyons asking, how's X-Tools P2 with tumbler or P2S with tumblers? We create 45 watt, really easy to use. My jobs are picking up, so thinking of adding a CO2 since my 45 watts paid off. Also, have you had your hands on the Vertigo? David's going to tell you the P2 series is not his favorite for tumblers, just because the alignment is a bit of a pain.
They make you chase that red laser. That's what kills me with it. They make you have to move the highest point of the tumbler has to be under that red laser, which means every time you put a tumbler in there, your rotary is going to be in a different location more than likely, unless it's the same type tumbler. And I'm really considering bringing the machine back over, because when I last tried to do tumblers with it, it was before X-Tool Studio. It was back when XCS was the software. So I'm thinking about bringing it back up and trying it again, because I do like my RA2 Pro with the accessories and stuff. I love it. I love the S1 doing tumblers, but if they had a way that you could turn it off and manually focus the machine to where you could put the tumbler in the same spot every time, or the rotary in the same spot every time, that would make things better for me. Because if I'm doing one tumbler versus another tumbler versus another tumbler, I can't just I can't just use a jig and put the rotary in there, because it won't focus, because that little red beam has to be exactly in the right spot for it to focus. That's my biggest complaint with the P2. But it would have been as simple as making it to where you could go to like pro mode or something on the rotary and disable that function and just set the Z-axis yourself, and that would have made it perfect for me. But they didn't do that. Sometimes the simplest, like trying to be simple for folks that have never used a laser, you make things so complicated and convoluted that somebody like myself that wants to do 100 tumblers with the machine, I can't do 100 tumblers with that machine as fast as I can another machine, because now I got to do all this alignment checks and stuff, because I can't necessarily put a jig in there. So you make it simple, but at the same time you overcomplicate it to an extent. So but I'm hoping maybe X-Tool Studio fixed that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so the P3 has alignment pins to kind of help out with that. I need to jump back on it, because when I first got mine, their tumbler part of X-Tool Studio was still kind of in beta. So I was going to let them cook on it for a bit. So I need to check that again to see how that works. I'll be honest, my favorite tumbler machine was my original 60 watt CO2, because everything was manual.
Mm-hmm.
And so it felt easier. And it was a lot of the newer lasers will sometimes try to throttle themselves based on what you do with them and tell them. And so I feel like that sometimes slows them down as well. So sometimes all the smart technology is frustrating and gets in your way, but I haven't, I haven't done a lot of tumblers with my P2. I had other options. So I guess it wasn't my favorite, but that's because I had other options to work on them on. So
yeah, and that's the way I was. That's why the P2, my P2 is right over there right now, and the OMTech Polar Plus is sitting here. The P2, as far as like general experience of engraving tumblers or engraving cutting boards and stuff like that, I like the camera. I like the machine. It done a good job. But when I get an order for tumblers, I need a machine that I trust. And I was using the S1 because the X-Tool S1 is, in my opinion, if they would come up with if there was a CO2 module for that machine, it'd be jam up for tumblers because it does a really good job. It's easy to jig it out. The little crosshair makes it simple to line everything up, but it's a blue diode, and blue diodes are a little finicky when it comes to tumblers. I've done lots of them, made lots of money doing tumblers on it, but CO2s are a lot more forgiving on speed, power, and focus. So that's what I'm trying to get to is I want me a CO2 machine to be able to do tumblers with. And like I said, I'd love for it to be the P2. Actually, I wish I had a P2S. Maybe it's a little better. I don't know. But I'm thinking seriously about trying to hook the P2 back up and giving it a go and seeing if I can come up with like maybe a magnetic. Because here was my problem. Even if I do like a magnetic jig that I place in there with magnets, the pan slides in the P2. Like you can't really lock it. So now I've got to come up with a way of locking that plate or that pan to keep it from sliding in and out also, because it don't do me no good to magnetically attach my chuck if the crumb tray slides back and forth and moves around. So it's just, there's so many points of failure with that machine in the past that I just didn't feel comfortable trusting it with, $700 worth of freaking tumblers.
now you used your OMTech, what is it, the Polar Plus? Which one do you have?
I got the Polar Plus, and I'm using the chuck from Atom Stack, and it works fine. It works great.
Yeah,
like it's got the reader controller. I set my origin, and once I set the origin, I can sit there and just send them one right behind the other, behind the other, behind the other. So I'm good with doing tumblers on the OMTech, but
and that would be a little bit cheaper than the P2S. And you just have to be comfortable with light burn. I've been playing. I need to get back to it. I had to kind of put it off to the side because of some of those other machines. But the Polar Light, it has a Ruida controller in it. I was able to get it to turn the rotary, but I wasn't able to get it to do the calculation. With the input, the diameter, and things like that. It wasn't quite correcting for that. So I need to just double check my setup for that. Because if that would work, I was just using the X-Tool RA2 with the adapter for the P2 to plug into that because it's got that 4-pin aviation plug. Because that would be a very inexpensive machine. Now I had to put it up on blocks to be high enough for it, but that one's at like $1,800 or so, and it's kind of like nice budget machine. If you're just doing smaller stuff like that and acrylic and tumblers, it would work well for it, save you some money. But
yeah, if the Reno 45 had a true Ruida controller in it that would operate a chuck, it would be perfect for tumblers.
Yeah,
and I thought about doing that. I ain't gonna lie, I've thought about getting the Polar Plus out of here, just breaking down and spending the $300 and something on a Ruida controller and upgrading the Reno 45 and making it my tumbler machine, because I created a jig for it for the RA2 and everything, and it works great. But that controller that it comes factory with it's not suitable to do chuck work. It'll do roller work, but it won't do chuck work. And I'm not stepping backwards to a roller. I'm just not. I got too many chucks in the shop. I started out with a roller, and I messed up enough tumblers with a roller because you have, you got the tumbler on there and it just bobbles just a little bit as it turns because one side catches or something. And now your graphics all messed up, and chucks are just so much better. Now I'm gonna tell you, the RA3 Pro, I love that thing. Because the way that it interchanges and so forth, I wish X-Tool would come out with a machine the size of the Ultra, the F2 Ultra. I wish they would come out with a machine that size with CO2 wavelengths, like a CO2 Galvo. If they did that, that would be one of the hottest machines around, I believe, because they've got the chuck that they need, which is RA3, with the frame and the chassis that they've used in the F2 Ultra and the F2 Ultra UV. You screw the chuck to the bed of the machine so it can't move. The little, the things interchange, they pop in and out with magnets. So if you had a CO2 module powerhouse in that thing, like let's say a 20-watt CO2, you could smoke tumblers with that machine. With the pedal, with the little pad and everything, touch pad and all, you could smoke them. But I don't know. I wish they would.
Yeah.
Because if I had a CO2 Galvo, there would not be a machine that I would be really wanting. Because right now, I've got to come up with a CO2 that I trust for tumblers, because I've got a few jobs and stuff like that will come around, that have came around before, that I'm going to need something dependable for tumblers. And I don't, these tumblers that I'm doing are like $35 a piece for the blanks. And so you don't want to mess those up. That gets expensive.
Yep.
And they're 40 ounces. So it's got to be a pretty quick machine, or you're going to be there all day.
Yep. Where else we at?
Bulldog saying, I know the paid offers are nice, but do you support the average K40 guys? Not sure what paid offers you're talking about. Talking about like paid jobs, like engraving stuff for people. Not sure.
Yeah, I've looked at the K40 version I had was the Monport M40. Back when I bought my first CO2 laser, this would have been coming up on 11 years now. I had originally started looking at a K40, and they are a decent laser to start with if you only have that, that's your budget and that's your space. But what I was needing, by the time I figured out the upgrades I was just needing to do, I figured that getting into a 50-watt CO2 cabinet style was going to be about the same. So I figured I would just save my money and, wait a couple months more and buy that at the time. But that was back when, there was absolutely no air assist. They didn't have a honeycomb tray. They were very, very basic machines. They've come out with some versions that are better now. But still, I feel like they're quick. You quickly outgrow them if you're doing it as a business and such.
Yeah, the lack of the ability to focus. Like my M40, I had to go in and I had to gut it. I put a bed in there. I used a lab jack.
Yep.
Yeah, my little lab jack, and I used a little swivel cable and a wooden knob I cut on the laser to make it to where I could turn it up and down and lower it to set the focus. Had to take that clamping thing out of it. Had to buy honeycomb for it. Like I had to totally redo it. Had to redo the gauges, the temperature gauges, because both of them went out. Had to buy a chiller because I was using a bucket and I kept getting crickets and stuff in my bucket. So I had to use a chiller. So yeah, it's those machines are, you can do stuff, but there's a lot of work goes into them.
Yeah.
And if you're only doing 8.5 by 11 projects, it's fine. But most of the stuff that I do, most of my jobs are bigger than that, require a bigger work area. But you can, as long as you get your project size appropriately.
So, I try to keep my content somewhat relational to more than the machine I'm working on. Obviously, if I'm doing a machine review, it's going to mostly be about that. But yeah, we try to give design ideas, maintenance ideas, things like that to try to be more broad reaching. But I mean, it's kind of hard. Like Clark was saying, you do a lot of upgrades to make it operational, and then you're still kind of stuck with a small working area. And while I don't want to outgrow, I don't want to like all of a sudden have a 5 foot by 10 foot CNC and some industrial CO2, dual head CO2 laser in here, and just be completely unrelatable to my audience. But yeah, we try to find that balance, but in some cases we just kind of move on to slightly different equipment.
Bulldog, I guess he's saying I don't get free equipment. You do. Well, it ain't exactly free, but it is free. It is nice. And it enables me to be able to give back to the community, because I have, of all of the, how many machines has come through my shop so far? 100 and something machines that came through my shop. I have given every single one of them away. So technically I'm not getting free equipment, because I am housing it temporarily and it moves on. And I know Steve does the same thing. So yes, I've got 4 laser engraving businesses in my area that half or better of their equipment came from here. So yeah, but yeah, it's it just depends on your perspective, I guess. You can look at it different ways, but if I didn't do what I do, then the folks that have these machines that enjoy doing what they do, and the folks that have came to my meet and greets and stuff like that and got the machines, they wouldn't have those. So it's a win-win. But I'll tell you, there's days though when stuff starts piling up, companies start getting angry with you, because it's definitely not completely free. There's a lot of stress that comes along with it sometimes, but it is a blessing to be able to do it, and I appreciate it, and I'm just thankful that we can give back to the community the way that we do, because we couldn't do it if I was buying all these machines. I wouldn't be giving them away.
Well, and also, we end up doing a lot of free tech support.
Yes.
I mean, I know I've helped a number of people this week through emails and Etsy messages and whatnot. And so that's part of why we try to get some broad exposure, is to be able to say, yep, I've worked with one of those, and here's the thing you might need to change. I mean, just today I was helping someone troubleshoot their power stuff, and they were able to identify some broken wires, and their husband was going to try to resolder it for them. Like, they were kind of lost without that, and were ready to buy a new machine. So, we try to make sure that we're using this to help spread the knowledge, help people make better decisions or understand their equipment better.
Yep. And we try to kind of influence the way the machines are made and how the companies support their machines. We don't always, because they don't always listen, but we do make a lot of recommendations to these companies based on our feedback from you guys, as well as our personal experience when it comes to the machines and issues and stuff. So, but it's fun. It's fun.
Three Sons, thanks for the gifted memberships on each channel. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I saw that a while ago, but I was preoccupied.
Duck Wood Design's asking, are you guys using Fusion for designing 3D printer items? I know you are.
Mm-hmm. I do. That's all. And the reason is because that's what I learned how to work with, and that's, like I said earlier, I'm taking orders, I'm making stuff, I'm creating stuff. I don't have time to learn another software. So once I learned Fusion 360, I just stick with it, because it's easier for me to just continue to build on that knowledge that I have now than it is to try to move to something different. Unless it's out of necessity, I don't plan on leaving Fusion, because I've got too much knowledge and too many hours of, getting to a point, and it's like, man, I can't figure out how to make this happen, and having to drill in and figure it out. So, because that's like days of compiled research that it's took me to get my knowledge level to where it is. And that's what I have people like my buddy Bill he called me and he's like, he got a machine he's having problems with. And I'm like, dude, all I can tell you is YouTube University. Go on there, start watching videos, start going to like Lightburn has their own tutorials. Go to this page, go to that page, and just consume the information because it helps you in the long run. Because, I'm the type though that I'll run until I hit a wall and then I'll figure out how to get around it and then I'll run again. And so I learn in phases. But yeah, Fusion is the bomb. You're using, what was it? SketchUp? Not SketchUp. Yeah, well, SketchUp, and then the other one that you like to get.
Yeah, I've done a lot in SketchUp, so sometimes I'll start there. It's not a true 3D modeling tool. They do more of faces, so it's 3D-esque, but it has some limitations as well. I need to do more in Fusion. It's just I revert back, but to help people out with starting, I've also played around with some Tinkercad designs and files. I actually used it again today. I've gotten really good at making these things. I feel like this is half of why I have a 3D printer.
I was gonna say, that's what I use a 3D printer for. Now I have been making a lot of Bigfoot pieces and shipping them out and so forth.
Yeah, no,
I've got a really cool idea that I'm gonna work on this week because I'm doing all the dishes. Well, not all the dishes. I'm doing a lot of the dishes now. And so I've been trying to figure out where to put that little scrub brush that I use to get the gunk off the dishes, And I was looking the other day and I'm like, there's a space for it right there. I just need a little tray to go right around the spigot. And I need like a little spillover so that if it's any water on it, it can drain back into the sink. And so my plan is, if I can make this work, is to take the 3D scanner in the house, scan that part of the sink, and then design the file to fit around the faucets. Or I'm just going to draw it out and build it that way. Yeah. Whichever works out best. We'll see.
Yeah, we have like a Scrub Daddy and a few other things in our sink, and I just went on to Bamboo Maker World, whatever, and I found a couple that worked. I stole other people's designs.
Well, I guess I could do that, but where's the fun in that?
So. Well, no, it is always fun making it more yourself. But I was needing some test files for printers, so I was like, hey, we could use one of these. Might as well print that instead of just.
But don't get me wrong. I'm not against it if there's one I like. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Diamond State Precision's asking how many of the machines that you've reviewed are prototype or pre-production. That is like it is kind of.
That was a topic of an email today, wasn't it?
We're trying to get away from those, honestly. Because it's fun to kind of get like the first glimpse at something, but it never seems to be like, there's always little minor variations with it. So for example, the glaciers that both David and I got last year were prototype machines. We knew that. And they have made a couple changes to the way the cable chain works, but also a very important change is how the wiring is to the modules. And so now our modules, like if we had to replace them, the production wiring doesn't match our machines. So things like that are really frustrating. So when working with companies and they start telling us that it's a prototype machine, we've been starting to kind of say, well, how about you wait until you got a production machine? Because for us, it's just as important to be able to say, this is what you should get. But then also to be able to say, hey, yep, here's, if you're troubleshooting something, you don't want to go off of random, pre-production machine, you find out, oh, they did that differently on yours. Now, that doesn't mean they don't change it mid-production. We've seen that happen as well. But it's really frustrating. Or when they come out with, new add-ons later, and all of a sudden your pre-production machine doesn't work, or they send you upgrade parts to a UV laser and they don't work right.
Yeah, well, and like I said, now some of the mix-ups like that have been beneficial for some of the viewers, because I know I've had one fella drove down from north of me in the state. Now it was an hour or two ride for him, but he drove down. And if you remember when I got my Hurricane, they sent me that bed slinger, but my Hurricane was a prototype, and they sent me a consumer bed slinger and it wouldn't work with my machine. And so they wound up sending me another bed slinger that was wired to work with my prototype. And so I had a perfectly functional bed slinger that I couldn't use. And so I put it, I put it out there. Hey, anybody that wants to drive and come get it, come get it. And so he benefited from that. But like right now, I know me and you both have a module for a machine that we can't use because we got a prototype machine that has a different connector than the module we were shipped. And so it's like, it does us no good unless I guess we could probably, if that wasn't for that one funky connector, we could probably make adapters, but that's not something that I would be comfortable with doing a video on, because then if somebody else, theirs is going to be different. And so that's where, like I said, we've been trying to steer clear of that as much as possible without just totally alienating the companies, because there are companies that they want us to look at their products and give them some feedback. And some of the companies will they'll send you a prototype and then send you a consumer model. And that's not as terrible, but a lot of these companies want to cut corners. And instead of sending you the whole machine, they want to send you like an upgrade package, like this thing, and to where the upgrade actually winds up hurting it instead of helping it.
Yeah. Well, and yes, there's also the risk of, if things don't go well, sometimes the production machines, they make some changes and causes some issues that didn't come up in the pre-production, or vice versa. And it is really frustrating too, spending a fair amount of time sometimes troubleshooting these pre-production machines. And it's, I've got a full-time job, I've got a family, and I've got this side business. And so while I like playing with new technology, when you're constantly troubleshooting and back and forth trying to figure things out, it's just a time sink. I'm not earning anything from these companies by doing that. It gets a little tiring that you're spending this much time trying to figure things out for them at really no benefit to anybody but the company. So there's just some reasons that we're trying to hold back on. If they tell us it's a prototype machine, we kind of are starting to say,
maybe not.
Talk to me when you got the production ones, or, or it's like, I'll look at it, but I'm not going to do a video on it. And then you're going to need to send me the real one. Now, I've had that happen where they're like, hey, no, we're going to send you, once all the bugs are worked out, we're going to send you a production unit so that it's the same and it has all the features. And that's okay. But there again, you can still spend a lot of time basically giving them some free testing and tech support for
nothing.
If you enjoy it, that's great. Yeah. But after a while, it does, when I got other things I need to be doing, it gets
and especially like this week, because I had to do my taxes this week, and so I've been looking through how much each person or how much I made from everything. And when I printed out my P&L and I'm looking at all the lines and all the different companies or whatever, and it's like, okay, I am spending a lot of time doing this, and it's the percentage of my time I'm spending and the percentage of money that's coming in is not, it's crossed up. So it's, I still have, especially now, because this is like my full-time job basically. So I still have to concentrate on making a little bit of money, but I also want to concentrate on the betterment of the community and my neighbors and, the neighborhood area or whatever. Because like I said, the schools, other makers in the area, you guys, the stuff that I can ship, I like to be able to hold, giveaways and stuff like that. And like the last meet and greet, I think it was $7,000? No, $8,000 worth of machines left there with assorted different people. And we're trying to get one together in Minnesota or somewhere thereabouts. So we'll see.
Yeah, the closer to my shop, the better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, sometimes if it's just a really cool new machine, I'm more likely to say, sure, jump me on the early list. But if it's not something I see myself using,
well, the bigger machines to me are more of a pain, because if it's something small that I can just toss over in the corner and it doesn't take up half my shop, I'm not as worried about it as I am these monster machines that they send you. Because if you get a monster machine in, it takes up a lot of space and it don't work. What you planned on having your shop tied up for a week turns into 4 weeks. That's that, because like this is where I make stove covers too. So I can't have stuff that just like gets stuck here for 2 or 3 weeks, because now I'm outside on sawhorses making stove covers in the cold. You know,
if I got to stain something right now, it's going to be on the table saw, and I don't want to mess up that.
Yeah. So I mean, and then that's what a lot of these companies don't get, is they think this is just like a studio. It's not. This is a working shop. Like, I'm making stuff out here, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it.
And Cody's here. He's got a large format printer. He's got a monster 14 by 14 3D printer in his shop now. Hey, you got to check out his stories on his social media.
Dude, here lately I have been busy.
But yeah, it's an older printer, but it's funny because he does show print out a tiny little benchy in the middle of that massive bed. Tail Dragger's asking, how would you design a screw-in adapter to the alien cell exhaust?
I actually did that, and I never finished it, but I've actually got one started. What did I do with that? Let me see if I can find the file. I've moved computers around. I don't think it's going to be on this one.
Yeah, anytime you got threads involved, it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, the only way I could come up with was I 3D scanned it. I took a piece of the pipe and 3D scanned it, and then was going to do an offset so that and basically that way it would be a negative of the thread. Let's see here. 25. Let's see if did I put those files in the thing? Great kid. Let me see if I can find it.
I feel like I need the Jeopardy music or something. Regret mentioning music.
Well, here's the this is like some video clips of what I wound up coming up with on my 3D scan. If I can get it to play. Well, it's literally like, apparently it's like 2 seconds. Hang on. But let me see here.
Exciting 2 seconds.
Yeah, so what I did is I took a piece of that hose and put it on a 4-inch, like put it on a piece of 3D printed 4-inch adapter. I put it together like this, and what I was going to do was just basically like use this to design around the outside of it. But I ended up, when I scanned it, let's see, is this an image or is this that's what it ended up coming out like. So I had some work to do in Meshy, and I couldn't quite get it to where this was square, and so I run into some problems. But you know, it kind of turned out okay. Like right there, that was when I had it semi ready to print. I got some holes in it still, but it turned out semi okay. But I abandoned that project because I got busy. I haven't come back to it yet.
Yeah, it'd probably be best to like try to measure the size, get the specs on the threads, and you can get like thread generators for that, and then model it from there. But
it would be much easier if I knew how to do threads. It would be much easier in Fusion, I'm sure, to create the threads if I had the spacing and everything, as opposed to doing it that way. And that's when I was like, you know what, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be, because taking that and turning it into a solid to be able to mesh it out for printing, it was like, okay, this is a little more complicated, and I'm not going to be happy with the results that I get from this scan. And so I was like, you know what, trash it, move on.
Yeah.
It seemed like it sounded better in my head until I started trying to do it.
Yeah, 3D scanning is great, but it sometimes, I mean, it's kind of like, I've had people with model airplane plans like, hey, if I have the plans, can you just scan them? And you know, the trace function seems like the way to do it, but after I spend all the time cleaning it up, it probably would have been easier for me just to literally draw in the program over the image and scale it. So, but
yeah, Tony, that is a really good question. Y'all know Biscuit just kind of came up here. and he was a bit of a nomad when he came here. Well, he's been here for about a year. Like I've been keeping him up and all that, making sure he's taken care of. And he is part Pyrenees, so he likes to go places. Shot collars, like perimeter shot collars, do not work on him because his neck is like a big lion mane, of course. But last week, sometime, he like just vaporized. I don't know where he went. Gravy is still coming around looking for him, but I don't know where he went. I don't know if he ran off. I don't know if the people who lost him found him. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. But it's been about a week, and so I thought maybe earlier when I heard that noise it might have been him, but I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. He's not here. He's not. I've talked to all the neighbors. Nobody's seen him. Nobody's heard him. Nobody's done nothing to him. Unless he, tangled with the wrong bobcat or the wrong coyotes. I don't know. We don't have like alligator. Well, we have them, but like where I'm at within his walking range, there are none that I'm aware of. So,
Oh, you got all those ponds popping up around you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't swear there's
migrating.
I can't swear we don't have alligators around here, but as far as I know, I have never seen one within 5 miles of my house. So yeah. I don't know. It's been driving me nuts. I have walked and driven like all the roads, the dirt roads, back roads. I've walked my property. Of course, I walked some of my nephews across the street. Of course, I can't just go wandering on other people's property. But I've talked to all the neighbors. Nobody saw him. They all know him. They know who he belongs to. He's got my phone number on his like little bone thing that I made him. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. I keep hoping he'll show back up. Maybe he just went chasing some girls around or whatever. But as the days tick on, I'm starting to think that either whoever lost him found him and we're like, oh, look, that's our dog. Because he still got the same blue collar on he had when he came up here. I never took his collar off of him because technically I wasn't trying to keep him, but he just never left. And so I don't know if somebody drove by and was like, oh, look, that's our dog. And they called him and he came to them and they drove off with him. Or I don't know. I don't feel like nothing happened to him because he was a pretty rough and rambunctious dog. It would take a lot of coyotes, I think, to have got him to where he couldn't escape. But we'll see.
Duck Wood Designs is asking, are you guys going to the APA Expo? Not this year. Maybe in a future year, but it's kind of too close to CES that we went to last month. And just kind of got to have to spread those out. I mean, I know Clack's got more time than I do.
My time's gotten a little better if I can get away from dishes and laundry and grocery pickup and honeydew list. Matter of fact, there's going to be a honeydew list video this week because I got assigned a task today. And yes, Miss Sharon, I am, because I saw she said earlier, record it so we can learn from it or whatever. But I'm also going to be recording this other one that I'm going to be doing. And y'all, it's going to be on the other channel. But look, I got a co-star with me this time too. So I did a little bit of pre-recording today. So.
Yeah, I think that's next week out in Vegas. So there'll be some other creators out there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The one we're keeping an eye on next is the Next Level Maker Conference, end of August down in Grapevine, Texas. You're already registered for it. I still got to see if I can get the time off for it. But looking pretty good. They just announced that they're going to they're hiring a photographer to be on site, and that every full conference attendee will get free headshot photographed by this guy, so they'll take photos and edit them and send you the files for you to use. So,
okay.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to their feed.
I haven't been, but yeah, see, I have my ticket.
Yeah. I hopefully I'll get that sorted out. I'm thinking I might be tired when I get there, but I'm hoping I can be able to drive down and be there for the bulk of it. But we'll see. Don't want to commit to it until I know they'll. It's just it's possibly the worst week in the calendar year for work that they could have it scheduled on is our fall semester startup. So that's my struggle with committing to it yet. So
yeah, the good news is I did get the room. I got my room secured. I got my ticket, so I will be staying at the conference center at the hotel or whatever. And as far as I know, if Steve does show up, I'm guessing he'll be staying there as well. And I may have another tag along. I don't know yet. We'll see. Klein's claiming he wants to go, but it's a long time between now and then.
Well, I want to make sure if I can go, I want to get signed up sooner because it's cheaper, and I want to make sure I get a room locked in. So
yeah. Well, depending on the situation, like I said, we don't know. We don't know what we're going to do, but I do know that I have secured mine. I plan on going. My schedule, I've already talked to HR. They've approved my off time request. I am good to go.
Yeah. Radu is asking, getting no bites, trying to sell a laser machine and extras. I won't list here unless you want. Craigslist and Facebook paid, nothing. 90% still in boxes, selling for $500 less than company. Any advice? I've been there posting anything from shop equipment to cars, motorcycles, whatnot, and it's very hit or miss. Having good photos on it, and you might have to be willing to make a good deal to someone.
Yeah.
Every market is slightly different. In some areas, things seem to go for 90% of new. In other areas, you can't seem to give it away. So I would my best luck has just been on Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes if you have like a community group of like a buy sell group, I've found some of those pages and have added it there. But yeah,
maybe if there's a maker space, maybe you advertise there somewhere if they got a bulletin board or something. Maybe.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, some things. And also there's a lot of people too. I mean, I don't know you say it's 500 less than new from the company. A lot of people, they won't use, even if it's new in box, it's used to them. And they'll be like, if it's not half off, I'm not worrying. I'm not going to mess with it. Because
you really don't know. I mean, you would like to think you could trust everybody on Facebook, but that's not really the case. Yeah. And so, a lot of people are really skeptic that unless it's a really good deal, they're not going to take a chance on, buying something that's damaged or whatever. So, yeah. I see that a lot with a lot of other stuff. I haven't sold any lasers on there, but I have, like I said, I do cruise through Marketplace pretty regular. There's a couple of things that I have looked for. Lasers is one of them. I'm like, if I see a really good deal, I might jump on it. And I see a lot of okay deals, but then I look at it and I'm like, okay, they're wanting the Thunderbolt lasers. Like, if I saw a good enough price on one of those, I would go get it. Because I think I would like the machine. I've ran, my buddy Tim's at the trophy shop. I run it all the time. I know that machine. I know it would fit. It would do my tumblers like I want. Like, I'd be happy. But every time I see one, it's only about $1,000 cheaper than a brand new one. And I'm like, okay, if I get the brand new one, like, it's brand new. Like, I get customer support, the warranty. I know it transfers, to me, all that. Because with Thunder, I think you can transfer the warranty from person to person, but I think there's a process.
Sometimes there's a small fee too, but the other thing too is depending on how low you have it. Some people, if you have your price too low, that sketches them out as well. They're worried, like, is it stolen equipment or is there something wrong with it that they're not telling me? So sometimes that pricing game is just you got to throw the darts out there and see what sticks eventually. So,
yeah. And in my opinion, on Marketplace, try to put enough information out there to where you don't sound like a scammer too. Because a lot of people will put like, brand new in the box laser, and then they're going to copy and paste some specs from a website and nothing else. How do I know that's not like a scam? You know what I mean? So my advice would be, try to put a little bit of something in there that lets them know that, hey, you're actually a maker that bought it, can't use it or whatever. hardships came up or whatever, and you're trying to get rid of it. Because I see that a lot of times. Those are the ones that I actually will like bookmark, because I'm like, okay, that's actually a person. But if I see one that like it's showing it's in the box and stuff, and it's like a generic, post with no context or anything in there, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be careful with that one. That's somebody trying to get me to meet them somewhere, and they're gonna try to rob me or something. So you gotta kind of sell yourself as being a real person on there as well. There's just so much theft and stuff going on.
Yep. But hope you get someone to take it off your hands. So
yeah. Oh.
I'll jump this. In Lightburn, if you're using an ARA module, will the text in console be red instead of black? No, Lightburn doesn't natively know what module is. So you can set up, if you want, you can set up your layers for different things, and maybe you want to set up red being a certain feature or whatnot. But it doesn't really. It just knows to send certain, speed, power, whatever. It doesn't know that it's an IR versus this.
So are we talking about the text in the console window, like the GRBL console window, or are we talking about like in the work area?
Nah, that's a good point. But yeah, you can't change the actual console.
Because if there's something in red in the console, that typically means it's an error.
Yeah.
Don't know. Well, short. Yeah. Cody said, I'm super bummed about the Maker Conference in August. It is the same weekend as Carveco's user group in Atlanta. Yeah, that was I was really wanting to go to the Atlanta one, because that's like a 3-hour ride for me. So I could get up at like 6 a.m., drive over, spend the day, and then drive back that afternoon. I really wanted to go to that. But business wise and what I do wise, it makes more sense for me to go to Texas than it does to go to that one.
So this isn't AWF. This is Carveco is starting a user group thing. I think this is the first year they're doing
their user group. It's on the 29th.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've been talking about AWF in the past.
Yeah. I also saw this one. I think they announced it like last week or week before is when I actually saw it.
Yeah. Just this past week they announced it. And
but it's on the 29th.
Yeah. It's 2 days there. So yeah, it's unfortunate that they have it overlapping with that. And I know sometimes they just have to go with dates, but I kind of wish some of these things because Carveco user group is going to overlap a lot with a Maker event.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people going to have to make a decision which one do they go to, and
the Maker event's trying to attract more of the CNC groups and such. So it's unfortunate. So.
Yeah, so I'm guessing Carveco won't be set up at the Maker event.
No, and I see Cody supporting the Carveco event too. So I imagine he's probably going to be out that way more so than the other one. So
yeah, it just sucks. I mean, if it had been like 2 more days, like if they'd have done it like 2 days later or 2 days earlier, before or 2 days after, it would be a lot more convenient. But as far as the business goes and everything, looks like I'm going to go to Texas. So, because I can't even take time to learn how to use Carveco. I've got license. I've talked to the guys. The software is pretty cool, but it's different. And like I said, I haven't had the time to sit down and actually just like learn it. Let me see here. Window. They say that the text is red with no errors, even with no errors. It's got to be a setting somewhere. I don't remember there being an option to change that to red text, but I'm going to look and see if I see anything.
Yeah. No. Rem Firearms is stating, I'm interested in a 3D printer, but don't know anything about them. It can be a new thing to learn for tools, but they've made them a lot easier as far as functionality. Almost to the point of being appliances, just kind of plug them in, they work. I've been really happy with the Bamboo printers the past year plus, but I've also, the FlashForge 85X has performed fairly well. And playing a little bit with the Anycubic, I had to do a little more tweaking with that one. So part of the hassle is making sure they're working right. The other part is you could buy a 3D printer and never design anything yourself and still print out lots of things. There's a lot of people that share things from shop jigs and tools to goofy tchotchkes and other decorative things. So you don't necessarily need to know 3D design, but to really get a lot of use out of it as a maker, of course, you got to figure out some 3D design. And there are some things within the slicers themselves that let you do some design work. Otherwise, there's some free softwares out there that you can play with, but it's definitely a new rabbit hole to jump down. But if you do look at them, definitely, like I say, probably the easiest ones to get started with is the Bamboo A1. It's fairly inexpensive comparatively to others, but it's fairly functional on like PLA and PETG. You'll have pretty easy success with that.
Yes, that would definitely be my recommendation. I love my bamboos. Bamboo's the way to go. I'm not seeing a way to change the color of the text. I don't know why it would do that. I know I've seen red text up there, but I can't remember the exact circumstances surrounding it. I'm trying to replicate that, see if I can figure it out. But.
Jared Lyons asking, you mentioned a CO2 galvo would be best for tumblers. Would they need a rotary for single-sided engravings, or you think a quick jig system would work? You'd probably still want a rotary. They do have, you can get different lenses, but even with the galvo, they're still going to be a finite focal distance. And so by the time you get around the sides, unless you're just doing a small engraving on a relatively flat portion of the mug or the cup or the tumbler or whatever, it's going to get skewed or it's going to get out of focus, and it just isn't going to look as good the bigger it gets out there on that curve. So still would be something you'd need a rotary for to get the full use out of it.
Yeah, unless it was like the X tool where they had the mapping where it drops the Z, then maybe you could get away with it.
But even so, I would
still prefer a rotary. It'd be faster with a rotary.
Yeah, and you're still now you're hitting the edge instead of straight onto it. So it's going to be still going to be a little bit different than getting that straight down and turning it so that everything's parallel and such.
Yeah, because even with the Z drop, you're still like you're only getting like I would say 50% of the exposed surface, because like you said, you start getting that curvature. When that curvature, especially on like a tumbler or something, the angle of the beam impact, the steeper that angle gets, the more reflection you're going to get. And even though some materials aren't highly reflective, they still do reflect light, just not like, it's not like a mirror, but it does still reflect light if it hits it at an angle. So you're gonna lose efficiency the further around that goes.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing any way of changing the font, so that might be something you need to. Maybe you can send that to Lightburn, because I'm not able to change the color of my font. I mean, there may be a way. I'm not saying there's not, but I can't find it. Now, if you're talking about like in the screen text being red, it may be that you're on the layers, and I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure that's not what you're talking about. So, like, of course, that if you create text and like if you put it on this layer, of course, it's going to be black. But if you put it on this one, like if you select it and you select this one, it's going to change it to different colors. And it's going to be based on your cut settings, whether it's a fill or whatever. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's not what you were talking about, but if it is, then, just click a different layer, like select it and send it to a different layer. If that's it. I don't think that's it. I think you're talking about the actual console, but either way.
So Norbert's asking if either of us have heard about some states looking to regulate 3D printers so they cannot print firearm parts. And there are some proposed laws out in a few states, Washington, California, and I think even New York wants to have some sort of like blocking features added to printers so that certain files would just be prohibited from being printed. And that's a slope that could go down to where they start trying to block, copyright materials and whatnot. And so, and where does it get to when manufacturers don't?
They're going to quit selling you welders because you could technically weld a weapon.
I think the thing is because this makes it fairly easy. You don't have to have any skill to do it. So they, it's a slippery slope because at some point do manufacturers get their equipment parts put on there and they don't, they force you to buy things from them rather than making your own parts to fix, your device. So it'll be interesting to see where these go and then what that means for printers. I mean, there's a lot of printers out there that won't have this technology. Are they going to all of a sudden make people?
Well, here's what they're going to do. And this is coming from somebody who spent 25 years in law enforcement, enforcing laws that lawmakers continue to pass, even though we declared the war on drugs how many years ago? And we haven't won that one yet. But they think that they can pass a law and it's going to fix it. Well, all you're going to do is create a market for 3D printers that are, imported to, say, Mexico, because we know that they can smuggle stuff from Mexico to the United States. Somebody that wants to get in the business of creating those type of guns could get a 3D printer from Mexico that doesn't have those restrictions and then set up a network in their basement with some VPNs and have it connect to a server in Mexico and just completely step around that if they wanted to. So you're not going to have any major impacts in that, in my opinion. And you can't regulate all. I mean, there's too many nerds that know how to jailbreak stuff and run their own software. That law is only going to affect the people like me and you that aren't going to do that. We're just going to pay more for our printer and be, like you said, everything we print, be looked at because we're, not able to, we don't want to do the illegal things and get the, black market printers, because that's all they're going to do is they're going to generate a market for, hey, you buy a 3D printer from me, I ship it to you from Mexico. It's already configured to use my VPN. Here's your little BlackBerry Pi that goes with it for your VPN, and you're in business. So, I mean, yeah, by the time they pass that, they will already have a machine on the market that can sidestep it. I spent 15 years working internet crimes. They're not, you can't get that genie back in the bottle. It's just not going to happen. Their best bet is to just police the chat rooms, police the download locations, and watch for it and deal with it. But yeah, there's so many laws on the books right now for law enforcement to try to enforce, and they can't, that the last thing we need is another one that's so complicated. Because if, like I said, from an IT standpoint, how easy it would be to step around that with just a little bit of knowledge.
Well, I mean, most of these a lot of printers have built off of like Arduino boards and such. You can make your own drivers for these printers. It might not function quite as fast or as slick, but
or you just basically take the OS off of it and jailbreak it, like put some software from a machine that was built 10 years ago on there. There's guys that would be selling them on eBay like hotcakes.
Yeah, it definitely is a kind of thing that it's only going to impact it's not going to stop it. It's only going to impact the people who might stumble into it and be curious and prevent them from doing it. The people who still want to do it, they're going to do it.
Yeah, because the next thing they'll be wanting to outlaw fertilizer, so you can't fertilize your lawn, because if you make it too complicated for people to make guns, they're going to make other weapons. I mean, I
don't know why you want to fertilize your lawn, because then it just grows faster and you got to mow it more.
Well, some people do. I don't fertilize mine because I stay too busy. But yeah, it's just crazy, man. They kill me with this. Like I got 4 gas cans out here behind my shop right now for putting fuel in my lawnmowers. Every time I put fuel in my lawnmowers, I pour it all over the place, because the little spout thing that California law requires them to use doesn't work. Like, all of them break, all of them leak, all of them pour fuel everywhere. I wish I knew exactly how much pollution had been caused by the modification of the old trusty, flexible gas nozzle. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been more fuel spilled from California compliant gas cans than any other gas can on the planet. And if I can ever get me a machine that can print in a gasoline resistant material, I have a 3D print file that I want to print for my gas cans. I don't know if PETG can stand up to gasoline or not. But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It could have bad implications across all of our, robotic machines. Because it's not necessarily, they're not always great at wording these just to restrict it to the intended purpose, or they actually want to expand it to anything just to cover future stuff. So I definitely think it's something to keep an eye on here in the U.S. Contact your congressman and such. I mean, even though it seems futile, if you don't, they haven't heard from you. You can't. It's kind of like not voting. You don't vote, you can't complain. You gotta let them know. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, and here's the thing: if you live in Oregon, like we used to when I was growing up, Chilton County, up until recently, the county that I live in, you couldn't purchase alcohol in the county. Like, it was a dry county. You had to go to a neighboring county to buy alcohol. And so at every county line on every road in this county, guess what was sitting there? A package store.
A fireworks stand?
A package store. Well, no, fireworks stands are usually right outside the city limits because that's where they can sell them. But no, it was a package store. Like the county line, everybody, if you've heard somebody say, "Hey, I'm going to the county line," you knew what that meant because they were going to literally just the other side of the county line to buy their alcohol. So all you're really doing is now, nobody's going to buy a 3D printer in Oregon. They're going to go to the next state over. Is it Utah? Utah's right there somewhere. One of the states that allows it. They're going to buy them there and bring them over. I mean, so you're not going to fix it.
Yeah. Scotty wins Vegas. I'm new to 3D printing. Just bought the Anycubic Cobra X. I've seen a lot of reviews and I hope it works out. Like I said, I've got experience with the Anycubic Cobra S1 combo. It is a good printer. I did have to do a little more calibrating on it than, say, my Bamboos. So once I got that worked out, it seems to be printing pretty well. So hopefully you don't have those issues. But if you do, watch. There's a lot of videos out there about, calibrating, your Z offsets and calibrating, a number of things on there that just may need some tweaking. Your flow rates and things like that for your filaments. That used to be the adventure for every 3D printer. It was, you spent a lot of time dialing in the mechanics and then the software and a lot of things on the. They've made it a lot easier, but that sometimes you still have to do a little bit of that. So, yeah, just stick with it. Hopefully you don't run into. You'll have a lot of fun.
Yep. Yeah, my first Ender 3. Yeah, there was a lot of tweaking and upgrades and this, that, and the other. And since I've got the Bamboo, I do not miss the tweaking and upgrades and adjustments and stuff like that. I like the fact that it just prints. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, it's funny. It's comments on the gas can stuff here. Like, I bought a gas can at Menards, and of course they have to come with the compliant thing. But like literally right next to the gas cans, they sell the regular hoses,
like the old school, like the old feel thing from the 80s.
Yeah, just the open, flexible hose thing. So I find it kind of funny that, but they're gonna make it compliant for the worst case scenario from a liability standpoint and just sell it that way.
Yeah, I mean, California burnt gas cans. then they took a go at the Glocks, and now they're going at 3D printers. I mean, I get it. I get it. Everybody wants people to be safer, but what folks don't realize is, and this comes from somebody that has, like I said, 25 years I spent trying to keep my community, my kids, everybody else's kids safer. they're going about it the wrong way. That's, I mean, if they would take half the money they're spending on a bunch of stuff and spend it on mental health right now, it would go a lot further, because the biggest problem that we got right now in this country is mental health. People aren't getting the care that they need. And if you don't believe me, go look at the rates that people are taking their own lives. I mean, it is crazy. I've noticed an uptick in the past 10 years. It has went through the roof compared to what it was the previous 10 years. So if they would have started addressing those issues, we'd have a lot less of the other issues. Because a sane person don't walk into a mall and shoot a bunch of people. It's just that just don't happen. So,
yep.
It takes the military a long time to train somebody to not hesitate and to actually do what they have to do in war. For somebody to just walk in randomly on a Monday and do it, something's wrong. You know what I mean?
Cody prints 3D stuff for his mental health.
Yeah.
I've been there too. You know, sometimes you just, and that's sometimes it's just printing fun stuff. I mean, there's those chunkables over on things. Some of them
those little
just
bobblehead things that you
some of those are just fun to have. You know, I printed out the they have the Michael Scott from The Office, you know, the boss. They have one of those. So of course I had to print one of those and put it on my desk at work. It even has the little best boss mug that he holds. So yeah, sometimes you gotta, that is actually a lot of what my workshop is just me taking a mental break from day-to-day stuff. So yeah, definitely you're right. You know, a lot of mental health issues. I mean, just health stuff in general.
Dude, and like I said, I'm you know, I'm not speaking from somebody who has never had issues, so to speak. You know, I went through what I call my dark ages. I went through several years to where, you know, things weren't great for me, but it was a lot of the job, a lot of the, you know, just not learning how to cope with stuff. Because, you know, I grew up in an age, and a lot of folks did, to where, you know, my daddy was born in 1940, so there was no sympathy. There was no, you know, it was suck it up, buttercup. That was it. And so, you know, there are things that people need to learn. And that's one of the things that I still do, even now, with some of the young guys that I see that are, you know, doing the job, is I tell them, look, don't ever think that you got it. Don't ever think that you're the master of the universe, because the moment that you do is going to knock you down, and it's hard to get back up. So it's crazy. Like I said, I wish the military has a problem with dealing with their folks. Law enforcement has a problem with dealing with their folks. And then a lot of just people in general, you know, just people in the world are just not dealing with things the way they it's too simple now for these folks to just take a little notepad like this and write out a prescription and hand it to you. And that ends up causing 3 problems and fixing 1. So I've had some fellow police officers that, you know, went and seen a doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, well, let me give you these. These will make it better. And then 6 months later, he's divorced, lost his job, and going to jail. So, you know, don't get me on my soapbox for that, because I have seen plenty of that in my lifetime. That's why I am retired and I'm out here. And like y'all said, I am having fun and getting my lasering and woodworking on.
Yeah. It's good to have that escape. It's one thing I was actually talking with Carla about, is that the thing I used to do a lot with my dad, and I've done some with my boys, but seems to have escaped us the past few years, is just kind of getting out and camping and venturing out and outdoors. We've got a lot of that to do up here in Minnesota, but past couple of years I haven't done as much of it, and I think it's added to some of my stress. So I'm trying to prioritize a little bit more of that, especially while the boys are still somewhat around. They're all, you know, 2 of them are in college, 1 of them still in high school. They have their schedules, but it's going to just be increasingly harder to take that time to go do those trips with them. So going to try to prioritize that a little bit and try to keep myself sane.
Yeah, EMT saying my PTG might work.
You got to get yourself that enclosed printer. open up some more filaments.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, nylon filament would be what's recommended.
Yeah, I got to have a different machine before I can print anything other than like the PETG. I don't think I'm not set up for that yet. Maybe one day, if I get a little more room, I can get me something that can print like ABS and some of the nylons and stuff. But yeah, it's not in the cards for me yet. Oh, yeah, Mark, I honestly agree with you like a lot on that. Like I said, there's a whole rabbit hole of things that we could talk about and go down, and it's some of it, like a lot of the stuff is very polarizing because either you're like over here or you're over here. There's not a whole lot of people that kind of hang out in the middle where I stay. So it can be quite the discussion, because I'm kind of like, like I said, and a lot of the stuff that I say is based on the fact that I have taken the gun out of people's hands. I have cut the rope out from around their neck. I have, helped them get out of the water after they jumped off the bridge. I have been there. I have seen it. And this is not me reading a book, or this is not me just, believing what's on social media. This is me being there, helping those folks. Like, it's real. Some of them I got there in time. Some of them I did not. I mean, it's you see it over and over and over. And like I said, it's becoming more and more predominant for some reason. But yeah, I do believe there are some people that are just evil, but I believe a lot of times it's missed opportunities on not only, family, law enforcement, court. People miss opportunities to help people and give them the help they actually need, and things escalate. So, that's why I've been, for the past 10 or 15 years, I've been big on kids. Because if you're gonna help somebody have a better life, the earlier you can start kind of pushing them that way, the better results you're gonna have as far as a percentage. Because if you've ever tried to like get a tree to stop leaning when it's 24 inches around, it's harder than when it's a twig. So it's a whole nother philosophy, a whole other thing that I'm a firm believer in. And that's why I say that if I ever do get enough like resources and money and stuff like that, that I can, take care of my family the way I need to, I want to start a makerspace, and I want to hand out basically scholarships to the makerspace to kids, veterans, first responders, medical personnel, that kind of things, to help use what we do in these shops, and let people understand that you can use that as a good form of stress relief. And like you said, it's just kind of your happy place, and if the good Lord ever blesses me with enough money to do it, I've done talked to several people in this county that are like, yeah, that would be an awesome thing to do. Go to the schools, find the kids that academically don't got what it takes, but know how to make things and are creative, and get them in a shop, get them doing stuff. So we'll see. Maybe one day. We'll see. My chair is gonna keep on till it breaks. This one got slop in the top of it. This is the chair rocket. This is not me moving. I'm gonna have to get one of them fancy chairs like you got.
Anyhow, we got about 10 minutes left. So if you got any questions or topics, fire them in there.
Yeah.
You got some of us have to work tomorrow.
You're going to quit using that word, man. I mean, I work too. We work hard here.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't work too hard. I'm going to be honest with you. I take breaks regularly. I've started my own union. Like, I get breaks like every hour.
You realize I may be talking about that for another 18 years. So
I know. Well, I've got to save some material so I can have comeback. Well, this week though, I'm gonna be working on. Let it load. Well, is it gonna load? Wait a minute. Well, Not sure what's going on with my camera, but I have oh, I know what it is. Lightburn's probably got it held up. Let's see if it works this time since I closed Lightburn. Nope. I don't know. Anyway, I have the Asmer. This is their P2 Pro, which is kind of a cool machine. It's back to the basics. Somebody was asking earlier about basic machines and stuff. This is back to the basics. It is open frame. It does have automatic air. It does have limit switches. But other than that, it's basic of the basics. And it's like a $600 laser right now, which is cheaper than what I paid for a 10-watt diode machine back when I first got started with it. So it's 48 watts, switchable down to, I guess, 24. It just calls it, it just says fine, like it's got a switch. It just says fine. I'm guessing it switches it down to 24. But yeah, we're talking for a 48 watt machine. This is 1/4 inch plywood, and we're knocking it out at 12 millimeters a second and above, and getting nice good drops. My honeycomb's a little dirty. It's one of my training honeycombs. And at the same time, even on 40 watts of power, I'm getting some good clarity. And this is birch ply. This is not even like really good plywood to be doing images on. But yeah, there's an image that I did with this machine. So I'm working on that this week. I'm gonna be running it. The one thing that I do have to do though, it is an open frame machine. So I've got my exhaust hose right there. I don't have an enclosure to put it in without moving a machine. So it's just, I've just been running it. But so I've been like, opening the door, and it's gotten cold. So I don't know how much testing I'm gonna do with it tomorrow, because it's supposed to be in the 20s in the morning. So we'll see. But I'm gonna try to get a video out with that. It's not a whole lot to do. I mean, it's your basic 400 by 400 48 watt machine, but it does a good job. It'd be a good one to have around to where you could hang on the wall if you had limited work area. Not bored. I don't know when the most recent Xtool Studio update is. I haven't updated mine in a week or two whenever I installed this other computer. So
it's been out for a couple of weeks, the latest one.
Okay, so I may or may not have, but yeah. Last time I used it, it worked fine. Says I'm doing 100 koozies, so I haven't had issues with that. Hopefully it keeps working. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I missed something. But yeah, no, as far as I know, last time I used it with the Ultra UV over there, and it worked fine. All right. We are at 1:53, an hour and 53 minutes. What y'all got, guys? Comments, questions, concerns? What do y'all want to see Steve make with the big CNC over behind him?
You gotta be able to afford to feed it,
Well, I mean, look at that pile of wood over top of it. You can make something cool. I see a whole bunch of black walnut back there. You can make something cool.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's about time. It's about the time for that pile to get a little smaller.
Well, the stack there was supposed to be a dining room table, but that project's kind of it's kind of gotten spaced out as far as our current house. So I might need to come up with a new project for it.
Mark's asking what size spindle's on that CNC.
This one just comes with their 710 watt trim router spindle, but it's got a 65 millimeter mount, so you definitely could, put a real spindle on there. So we'll be testing it this way, and then we'll see. We'll see what I think about it. See if it has a spot here. My problem is, I've got that Onefinity there. I've got that, and I've got the other ones. It's like I can only support so many machines in here. So we'll have to see when that meetup happens. I may maybe having some door prizes.
EMT, I think you're talking about the P3. The P3, the chuck locks in, but it not with the P2, unless they've really overhauled the P2. Because I've had mine for a while, but no, I think you're thinking about the P3 because the RA3 doesn't even work with the P2 that I'm aware of.
Well, the latest update made it work with the F1 Ultra, or the F1 Ultra and the F2 Ultra. So,
was that the RA3?
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, the P3 does have a lock-in system for the RA3.
Yeah. Rob Fight says, I got a request from a local brewery to engrave plastic beer mugs with their logo. I only have a diode machine. Is it possible to engrave plastic with a diode? Possible is a very strong word. I'm going to say it's probably possible. Would I recommend it? No, because it's going to be a melty mess unless you hit the settings perfectly. If you're doing plastic, you need an IR or a UV. UV would be my first pick. IR would be a second pick. Other than that, I wouldn't touch it with anything else. And unless you know exactly what kind of plastic it is, you need to pay special attention to exhaust and venting.
Looks like the RA3 does work with the P2, P2S.
Really?
Uh-huh. Xtool's got an article on it.
Like I said, I have to look it up. Well, one more reason why I might drag mine out and try it out then, because if it'll work with the RA3, that would definitely be nice. But I don't have a plug for my RA3 to plug into my P2. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. What's Radu saying? Oh, Radu's telling jokes. I think he used that one the other day in somebody else's live.
I know what you're talking about. He's being very serious.
Let's see. So, Steve, what is your best guess as to when I will be able to buy a mild metallic 3D printer for $1,500? That's going to be a while.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know. Technology takes weird leaps, but will it be that cheap? I don't know.
You can get a metallic printer now for like what's that? Inconel. That's what it is. But you have to bake it after you print it.
Yeah, I mean there are some out there, but they're not cheap.
No, they like them.
There are a lot of digits in those.
Yeah, because I actually have a sound control device for one of my long rifles that was made using a 3D printer, which is just cool.
So one thing I saw, I don't know where this video was, but you know the laser welders that have been coming out. Yeah. Someone took one of those and kind of turned it into a 3D printer.
I mean,
so using that technology and those things, I mean, those things aren't necessarily cheap. They're still up in the, multi-thousands, but there's been some ingenuity by people to take some of those things and make it kind of work. So
yeah. Duckwood Design saying, do you prefer designing in Vectric or Lightburn? Depends on what I'm designing, Vectric or Lightburn. I'm more comfortable and more efficient in Lightburn probably. And then I just export the file over into Vectric and add the tool pass. But that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, it depends on what I'm working on. Sometimes I won't do it in either one. I'll do it in another one and import those in. So
yeah. I don't know of any. Is that asking about mesh mixer videos? I went and watched a few. I don't remember whose they were, just because I was trying to learn some stuff in there. But they're out there. I'm just not familiar with who the creators are. Robbie Giglio saying if the RA3 will work with the P2, I'll be buying one. Well, like I said, I've been talking about trying to get my P2 out and seeing if I can do any better with the tumblers now. I got some stuff I got to get done this week, but that's on my list of things I would like to do this week. So we'll see how that goes. Robert Young's asking, what is y'all's opinion of P3? My opinion is Steve has one. I don't have one. So therefore, I don't know. What do you say, Steve?
Well, the X-Tool P3, it's nice. I mean, it's nice having 80 watts of power in that form factor, because it's not. I've had other cabinet style lasers, and they tend to take up a lot of space. This one's a little more compact, but part of that's they have the chiller integrated and the air pump integrated, which are both pluses and minuses. They're pluses because it's all there. It's in one package, but you can't necessarily upgrade or mitigate them if they are having problems as easily. The laser itself, being X-Tool, they try to gear their stuff towards a broader audience. They're trying to capture, not necessarily the tinkerer or the industrial user, but more the average person that is playing around in their shop to the crafter to the whoever. So I feel like they've made it very simple to use, and it's great for personalizing random things. The thing that I'm still trying to figure out is it as effective at, say, like production work and wanting to batch out job after job after job? Does it do that as well as some of the more simple light burn controlled industrial type CO2s? So far I've been very happy with it. It's worked very well. But I've mostly just been doing one-off projects with it. I need to pick some sort of project where I might want to make 10 of an item, and I have to drop the material back in and such, and see how that will work compared to some of the other lasers I've used. But you can definitely get that amount of power for less, but it's not going to be as refined and maybe as kind of easy to get going with it. If you are looking at it, you're definitely going to want a cart for it to sit on, and the one that they make for it is actually pretty good. It is a pretty heavy device, so you're going to need something pretty stout. So, I mean, maybe you have something you want to build anyway, but if you don't, take a strong look at the cart. It is an extra expense, but it goes together easy. It supports it well, and it rolls around really well in my shop. So, yeah, more to come on it. It's still set up and ready for use in my shop on some projects. So,
yeah. William Hunter says, whatever happened to the 3D crystal laser projects you were doing? There's only so many times you can put a random skeleton or whatever in a crystal until I get tired of it. I want to do some 3D scans of people and put them in there, but I haven't been able to get all that done yet. So it's just, and doing a 3D, like I've tried several times of doing the image to 3D render thing, and it's wonky. So right now, the crystal thing is cool. If you have a good STL file, like if you can put a benchy in a crystal, it's cool. The image stuff, as far as like being able to do an image and doing like grayscale images and stuff like that, I think that was kind of overhyped a bit. Like as far as the expectations that the marketing gave you were a little, embellished. Can you do it with limited success? Yes. Is it a very easily repeated process currently? Not quite. So the point cloud, the STL files, I say those are pretty easy. If I can, I've been working with trying to get some like local landmarks and stuff like that, some 3D scans that I can put inside the stuff. But as far as the images, I'm hitting the brakes a little bit on the images. There's some 3D AI softwares out there that I think have potential. I think Xtool has advanced their software a little bit, but I still think it's a little undercooked just yet on the images. Like I said, the STLs, it does great, but the images is still a little, not great.
I do more, but my laser that'll do them isn't working for me.
True. Yeah, you only have one option. Yeah, says they broke my com marker Omni X, and so they broke Steve's as well. But I still have the Xtool, and I've been doing some stuff with it, and it is easier on the Xtool. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I mean, when I was using the Omni X, it was the only one I had to do them. But since I've gotten the Xtool UV, even if the Omni X was working, I probably would still be using the Xtool because they simplified the process. Kind of like what Steve was saying earlier about Xtool tries to simplify things for the average user. They really simplified the process. So it's a lot easier with that machine than it is the Omni X as far as placement and alignment and calculating it and all that. So. Mark, it is different, but it's a lot of the domestic stuff's what's getting me. So I've got a lot more stuff filling up my time than I thought I would have. And now spring's getting here. You had Christmas, and the Christmas rush was out here. You had all the stuff going on, getting projects, getting people wanting to come in and get you to engrave this, engrave that, and doing all this. You had the videos, the equipment reviews, all that stuff. And now we've moved into spring, and I've got just a little bit of a lull before the yard work really gets crunk up. And so I'm trying to do that now. So I'm trying to ease off of the shop and get my yard situated because I got goals over there as far as what I want to be able to do with the yard and getting some stuff cleaned up and everything. So I'm having to readjust my process of planning things. I will say that it is different than what I expected. So, all right, well, we are at 2 hours and 7 minutes. So we're in overtime, guys.
That was a long 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're in overtime. So I'm 7 minutes into overtime, and HR does not like paying me overtime. So,
you get paid for this?
Huh?
You get paid for this?
I pay myself, my HR. I am my HR, remember?
Oh.
Yeah.
Say, I'm doing something wrong.
I get paid, but it's mostly in sweet tea, and I'm out. I gotta get me some more tea, man. I'm about thirsty over here. Drying up. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you guys for coming. Steve, I think I done went over what I got going on this week with this and the yard work and all that. So what you got going?
Primarily working with a CNC machine. Got some projects in the works. Like I say, I got to finish up one. I'm doing some design work on something I want to create. We'll be cutting that out on the Xtool P3 when I get it done. Trying to mix in some of like I did with the video yesterday or the day before with the design work, trying to snag some of those for some kind of extra content. I know they're not always as, they can be kind of just an oddball thing, but hopefully people get some use out of that as well. So try to throw some of that in there, but yeah, mostly creating some dust, carving some wood. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully next week I can share a little bit more on that one.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it. I'm kind of curious about that machine. It's a big old boy.
Yeah, it is.
You may need to make like a double decker CNC table over there or something.
Bunk beds for the
bunk
beds for the CNCs. Yeah.
But anyway, I will hopefully, like I said, I got some videos coming up on the other channel this next few days as well. I'm probably going to go ahead, depending on the temperature tomorrow. I don't know. We're going to see how the sun is tomorrow. I may be in the shop or I may be out there doing that. I don't know. But we'll have some more content coming on the other channel this week, hopefully. Till next time, y'all be safe and have a good day.
See you, everyone.